You actually shared with me a graph from 2022, Asian and Black businesses' poorest financial conditions. This is 2022, after COVID-19, the pandemic, kind of a little bit around that time. What was the condition of businesses? I know economically many businesses were struggling, but what would you say about Asian and Black owned firms?
Well, first of all, we're in very similar plight. So the 2022 Federal Reserve Bank study looked at the financial conditions of business owners by ethnicity. And poor was the kind of the worst category. And surprisingly, I usually talk about Asians that because there's like 30, 50 groups under one umbrella of API, that you have to really disaggregate. Without disaggregating, it really masks the suffering of many of the subgroups. But in this situation, without even disaggregation, API business owners had the largest percentage of the worst, or the poor, that is called poor, was the worst condition, right? And then the next category was called fair. And again, even that portion, Asians had it the largest share. Now, so not surprisingly, the African American community had a comparable, but it was just right below Asians. But again, I think that those data points, and even Hispanics. So really, I think that communities of color, we are all victims of a very racist system. A racist system doesn't discriminate who it discriminates against, right? And so whether you're Black, brown, Native American, or Asian American, we all face the fact that we are not the in crowd. We are not historically the people who's held power in this country. And so again, we have so much shared pain, shared challenges, that I think it would be a lot of very much, a lot of positivity, a lot of hope if we were to stand in solidarity. I do want to go back. So 8 years after the 92 riots, the 2000 census looked upon again the income, the median income of different groups. Koreans, along with Black, brown, and Native Americans, were 4 communities whose median income was below the national median. And so Koreans have one of the highest rates, if not the highest rate, of self-employment. And though self-employment was not out of aspiration, but lack of options. You know, when you again have limited language skills, all your license, learning doesn't matter in the United States. So your options of what you could do is very limited. And so sometimes you end up being self-employed, not again out of aspiration, but lack of options. And I think that's why if you look at the income, the median income of Koreans, it was quite low with other communities of color, right? And so I think it reinforces and supports the fact that, Koreans were not doing well. And so we were all stuck together, right, with one another. And is again my hope that the sooner we awaken to that truth, that reality, that that we would start fighting less with one another, just as in that Squid Game, when the final 2 contestants, lifelong friends, and as the final contestant was going to enter into his winning, he woke up and he realized, oh my gosh, you know what? I've been played. And you know what? This winning is going to come at the cost of losing my friend who would have been killed right away, and that of his own conscience and integrity. And so again, and he remembered, as bad as the game master was, he did say one thing. He said, if the players agree to leave, all the players agree to leave, they can leave the game. They can choose to leave the game and no longer play by those rules. And that's what, he woke up and he said, we don't have to play by these rules. Let's go home. And I really want to I challenge myself because, again, I'm human. It's very easy to go into a default place of pointing fingers at one another. But at the end of the day, if we do that, we're being played against one another. And the sooner we awake, the better off we will be.
Thank you for just helping us to understand a little bit about the finances of Asian American and Black businesses, and even to today, 2022. I bet if we disaggregated by ethnicity among Asian Americans, I bet Korean Americans would still be even lower than
Yes.
than many Asian Americans. But even in this grouping, Asian Americans were hit the hardest during the season, similar to Black. And you're saying that, wow, this can create an opportunity for solidarity, understanding, hey, everyone's really struggling and suffering together, and maybe by working together we can make it a better place. But somehow that's been difficult. But I know I've been one of the objectives and goals, strategies that you've had include looking at the data. So thank you for sharing that graph with me.